everyone, my name is Sarah, and today we're going to be making my entry for the Studio Ghibli swap on Instagram. It was like a secret Santa, so I know who I'm making a doll for, but I don't know who made a doll for me. At the time of writing this, I haven't received my package yet, and I am so excited. So anyway, my partner was Carrie Zombie Dolls on Instagram. She listed her favorite characters as Totoro from My Neighbor Totoro, Ashitaka from Princess Mononoke, and Catbus, also from My Neighbor Totoro. Unfortunately, I accidentally deleted a big chunk of the beginning footage of this doll, so here I have a dramatic recreation of me showing the base doll I chose, Draculaura. This mistake must have been an omen, because this doll was a challenge. The footage starts here, near the end of Totoro's face-up. I forgot to mention, that's who I'm making, but you probably already knew that, didn't you? I decided to make her eyelashes stylized because I had not ever actually painted eyelashes on a doll before. This doll technically was started all the way back around the time of my Orion doll. This was also my first time rerooting a doll. I used nylon doll hair in the color London Fog from the Doll Planet. Here I am adding a layer of sealant. I think this was actually before I switched to Liquitex matte varnish for sealant. I didn't like this old stuff very much. It stayed kind of sticky. I couldn't decide between a cute Lolita-style Totoro dress with an apron or a Kigurumi made to look like Totoro, so I made both. I only managed to record the dresses process, though. I used an old pillow covering to make Delightful's standard dress pattern. I will say, her patterns are very well written. I spent some time planning and drafting the apron myself. For the Kigurumi, I used DG Requiem's Kigurumi pattern for slimline fashion dolls. Once I had the pieces for her apron planned, it was pretty easy to sew it together using white cotton. For her bow, I kind of faked it using a big rectangle of fabric. I folded it in half and sewed it around the edges before turning it right side out. Then I marked on the apron where I wanted the bow to sit. After sealing the ends of a short piece of ribbon with the flame from a candle, I wrapped it around the center, making a bow shape, and sewed it in place. Then I sewed the bow to the strap of the apron, attaching it so that the snaps were what held it closed. Much neater and less fiddly than an actual bow. The next piece of clothing I tackled were her socks. I wanted them to be cute knee-highs. I drafted my own pattern so they could be exactly as I imagined. I traced the pattern onto a folded piece of an old t-shirt. I sewed them together and tried them on the doll to make sure they fit before cutting them out and turning them right side out. I kept taking them in and making alterations until the fit was perfect. Then I traced the resulting sock onto the pattern and trimmed it so that next time I wouldn't have to make as many alterations. I have a confession to make. I've been working on Totoro's clothes because I accidentally snapped her neck peg when I was turning her head during the fitting process. I was so frustrated with that I couldn't even look at the doll for a week or two, so I made the rest of the clothing. To get the neck peg out, I cut a small slit in the back of her head, where the resulting scar will be hidden by her hair. Then I went in with my jewelry pliers to try and fish it out. Remember what I said about this being my first reroute? I think part of the reason the neck peg broke was because I made the needle length too long on my reroute tool, meaning that there was a lot of extra loops of hair inside the head, and the peg got caught on that, and turning the head was twisting that without me knowing. The hair inside the head was getting in the way of me fishing out the neck peg, and I ended up having to pull out a lot of the hair in the process. I had no idea what I was doing, and I may have been a bit frantic. There's probably a better way to do this, but she ended up pretty close to bald. Finally, I managed to get the pound sign, dollar sign, percentage sign, asterisk neck peg out of her question mark, ampersand, percent sign, pound sign head. I only had a tiny bit of the original hair left, so I ordered another 1 ounce package of hair from the Doll Planet. And thus began her reroute. A side note, I only ordered 1 ounce because I cut the hank in half. They suggest 2 ounces for a Monster High doll, and I have to agree. I doubled my strands of hair and didn't have much left. Her part line was starting to fail at this point, with all of the stress I had put it under. So I used my Loctite vinyl glue to restore it. There was still some hair glued in place, so I had to be very careful about how I did it. But I think it worked in the end. I glued her new hair in place with what was probably a slightly excessive amount of the Doll Planet's Galaxy glue. After all of the trauma and months of storage while I worked on other things, plus moving, she had a few scuffs on her face. I took some acetone-free, the free part is very important, nail polish remover and wiped it gently over her face. It removed the scuffs and marks without taking off any of her face up. Once she was clean and dry, I gave her a few layers of Liquitex matte varnish just in case the sealant had degraded a bit from the nail polish remover, plus because I think the stuff that I was using when I started her wasn't really the best. It was finally time to figure out how to reunite her head and the body. I removed the remains of the neck peg from her head with an X-Acto knife and a knitting needle. I selected some likely looking beads from my collection, and following a tutorial, I wired the bead to the neck and used that as her new neck peg. It's somewhat more fragile than an actual neck peg, but for an art doll, not for play, I wouldn't be concerned. Before reuniting everything, I gave her a boil wash to flatten out all of her hair. Apparently some of the glue was still wet because I accidentally glued the paintbrush I used as a handle to the inside of her head. Oops. It was finally time. Seeing her all back together again made everything so worth it. She's just so sweet and delicate. Exactly what I wanted. To seal up the cut in her head, I sewed it shut with some thread, a needle, and a pair of pliers. I didn't realize right away how much the thread didn't match the plastic, but you can't see it because of the hair, so that's alright. On top, I smeared more of my trusty Loctite vinyl glue to keep everything secure. Now, for her shoes, I used Walker Colors' T-Bar Mary Jane tutorial and followed it exactly, except for the fact that I didn't make the T-Bar part. I just wanted regular Mary Janes. I did the work over the socks so I knew that it would all fit in the end. For Totoro's ears, I took my Squirrel Girl headband and lengthened the ears using DOS air dry clay. I sealed the clay to the plastic using some super glue before painting them the same gray as the shoes. Then it was time to style her hair, with some help from my new kitten, of course. Honestly, I think she was worth all of the frustration I had. It might not seem like much, but I tried to edit my going in circles out of the video. She is probably one of the best dolls I've ever made, even surpassing some of the ones I made after her. She just hits the exact mood and look I was going for so well. I'm so glad that I took the time to make both outfits, because I love them both so much. There are so many little details in this doll, and I think those are my favorite parts. I am definitely a little bit sad to see her go, but I know that Carrie will love her as much as I do. So what do you think? What's your favorite Studio Ghibli movie? Can you guess which one is mine? I'll be sharing my doll here as soon as they arrive, so be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. There will be more repaints coming soon, as long as YouTube will allow me to share them with y'all. I hope your morning, afternoon, weekend, whatever, is a good one. Thanks for watching. Bye!